The psychology of anxiety, how it works and how to manage it. Have you ever felt your heart race before an exam, a job interview, or even just walking into a crowded room? That knot in your stomach, the tightness in your chest, the thoughts spinning out of control, that's anxiety. And here's the thing, anxiety isn't just in your head. It's not simply about overthinking, and it's not always your enemy. In fact, anxiety is part of a deeply wired survival system that helped our ancestors stay alive. In this video, we're going to break down the psychology of anxiety, what's really happening in your brain and body, why it sometimes spirals out of control, and practical ways you can manage it in daily life. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is anxiety? Anxiety is often confused with fear, but they're not the same. Fear is what you feel when you face an immediate danger, like nearly stepping into traffic or hearing a loud bang. Anxiety, on the other hand, is about anticipation. It's your brain and body preparing for something that might happen in the future. From an evolutionary standpoint, this was incredibly useful. Imagine you're living thousands of years ago and you hear rustling in the bushes. Your anxiety would make you alert, ready to fight or run if a predator jumped out. That survival mechanism still lives within us today. But here's the catch. In modern life, the threats are usually not lions or bears. They're deadlines, social situations, financial worries, and personal expectations. Yet our brain reacts as if the danger were physical and immediate. That's why anxiety can feel so overwhelming. Think of it this way. Anxiety is like your brain's smoke alarm. It's supposed to go off when there's fire, but sometimes it starts blaring just because you made toast. Now let's take a closer look at what's actually happening inside your brain when you feel anxious. The main player here is the amygdala. This is your brain's emotional alarm system. When it detects something threatening, it sends signals to the rest of your body. Get ready. Something's wrong. Then there's your prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical part of your brain that helps you make decisions. Ideally, the prefrontal cortex should balance the amygdala, like a parent calming down an anxious child. But when anxiety is high, the amygdala can overwhelm the prefrontal cortex, making it harder to think clearly. The hippocampus also joins the conversation. That's the part of your brain linked to memory. If you've experienced stress or danger in the past, the hippocampus can influence how strongly your brain reacts now. For example, if you had a bad experience speaking in public, just thinking about it in the future might trigger your anxiety. Meanwhile, your body is also responding. Hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood your system. Your heart rate goes up. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your muscles tense. All of this prepares you for fight or flight. But here's the tricky part. Once your body starts reacting, your brain notices these physical sensations and interprets them as more danger. That creates a loop. Anxious thoughts trigger physical symptoms, which trigger more anxious thoughts, and on it goes. So why does anxiety sometimes become a real problem? In moderation, anxiety is helpful. It sharpens your senses, boosts performance, and prepares you for challenges. But when anxiety is frequent, intense, or shows up without a clear reason, it can turn into a disorder. There are many factors at play: genetics, personality traits, trauma, and even your environment. Some people are simply wired with a more sensitive alarm system. Anxiety can take many forms. Generalized anxiety disorder is when worry becomes constant and hard to control. Social anxiety disorder is when interactions feel overwhelming. Panic disorder involves sudden, intense episodes of fear, often with physical symptoms like chest pain or dizziness. And then there are specific phobias, irrational but very real fears of particular things. But here's something important to remember. If you struggle with anxiety, you're not broken. You're not weak. Your system is just a little too tuned in to danger signals. Now let's talk about how to manage anxiety. There are strategies you can use in the moment, and there are long-term practices that help reduce anxiety over time. First, the quick techniques. One of the simplest is deep breathing. When you take slow, steady breaths, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body that tells you it's safe to relax. Another technique is grounding. Try the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. This pulls your attention away from spiraling thoughts and back into the present moment. Reframing your thoughts can also help. Instead of asking, what if it goes wrong? Try asking, what if it goes right? Shifting the perspective can break the cycle of catastrophic thinking. Now, the long-term strategies. Regular exercise is one of the most effective ways to manage anxiety. Moving your body helps burn off excess stress hormones. Sleep is another huge factor. Poor sleep makes anxiety worse, and anxiety makes sleep harder. So building good sleep habits can make a real difference. Mindfulness and meditation help train your brain to observe anxious thoughts without getting carried away by them. Journaling can also be powerful. Writing down your worries gets them out of your head and onto paper, which often makes them feel less overwhelming. And then there's therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. CBT helps you recognize unhelpful thought patterns and replace them with healthier ones. It's one of the most research-backed treatments for anxiety. The key here isn't to eliminate anxiety completely. That's impossible. The goal is to manage it so it no longer controls your life. Small, consistent steps are far more effective than trying to make one big change overnight. Of course, there are times when anxiety becomes too heavy to handle alone. If your anxiety is interfering with your daily life, your work, your relationships, or if it feels overwhelming and constant, it may be time to seek professional help. Therapists, counselors, and doctors can provide support, tools, and sometimes medication when it's needed. Reaching out doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're taking charge of your health. So to wrap things up, anxiety is part of being human. It's your brain and body's way of trying to protect you. But when that alarm system is too sensitive, it can cause real distress. The good news is, with the right understanding and strategies, you can train your mind and body to respond in healthier ways. If you found this helpful, remember, you're not alone. Anxiety is one of the most common mental health challenges in the world, and there are effective ways to manage it. Thank you for watching. Take a deep breath, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.